cool. I've been thinking about making a new design, but I haven't quite gone there yet. No, does still do the same one, but because the whole purpose of this one was so that other people could wear it at their work and not be advertising my brand.
Very smart.
But I thought about coming out with one with my brand too recently. I've been thinking about it. It's just there's a lot of like people don't think about it. There's a lot of stuff that goes into these. Like I have to front a lot of money and production, whatever. But
why do you think we're not selling ours yet?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show tonight.
Yeah, what's up?
So couple things. Number one, Bill, I don't know if I should say this or not, but
don't do it. Don't tell him.
He's at the Herpes Anonymous convention.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's
I guess probably not supposed to say that because I don't think Bill was supposed to tell me because it's supposed to be anonymous, but then he told me and then I'm telling you, but don't tell anybody else. But then the second thing is while, I noticed, we come on here before the show, we kind of do some footwork and stuff and email some links out. And I was looking at the thumbnail and something was striking me about the thumbnail. And then I got it. I realized something. So, all right, Bill thinks that he's Captain Jean-Luc Picard, right? And then he puts the three people under Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah, good one.
Right? So
it's a mind game. He's screwing with us.
Yeah, he's messing with us on that one. Like, what the F? Seriously. But the question is, of those three, I was trying to figure out who I was. Am I Georgie? Am I Data? Or am I Riker? I don't know. I think I might be Data because Data could like kill anybody at any given moment, at any given second.
Come on.
All right, enough Star Trek talk. Let's get off of Star Trek here.
All right.
But for real,
today's Rick's birthday from HVACR Survival.
That's right. Up, happy birthday. Just text him right now. I saw his wife had put out a video last night kind of saying happy birthday to him. So that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
Helped us to catch up with it. And I text Rick. He was happy to be getting off work today. And so happy birthday, Rick.
So what did everyone go through this week? I got a couple stories myself, but
can I just show this, guys?
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I think you both fucking deal with this. I don't know if you guys got this, but or anybody in chat, but I picked up one of these. Actually, I got two.
What is it? Oh, it's a cowbell thing.
It's a hose.
No, it's one of those flexible hoses. I have not had luck with those.
Yeah.
But it's not flexible. It's just collapse. It's commercial grade collapse.
So let me say the reason, because they're a great concept, because when I did have some of the collapsible hoses, it wasn't flexible. I did have collapsible ones too.
Yeah.
I would throw them into a very, very small, tiny duffel bag. And then I would just carry that with me, just like shove it all in there. And then it could stay dirty in that bag. It wouldn't get anything else dirty. But the problem is I'm defrosting coils a lot. So I use hot water. Yeah. And I've yet to find one that doesn't explode with hot water when you're doing commercial hot water.
Try that. Oh, how hot?
Sometimes it's almost seems like it's not even regulated. Like I know it should be, but I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous. I don't know how hot.
We'll probably say 180 the most. I think this could do 180. I think it's pretty for.
There's no way that's doing 180.
It's even standard. Like I don't know what kind of hoses. I use normal hoses. So I use the 5/8 diameter black rubber hoses. So they're either Goodyear or
those are good ones. I like
those are the best ones, but even those have a hard time with hot water because they start to expand at the tip right there.
I got a hole in one of those as well. So I'm going to try these ones out. These are 5/8 as well. Yeah. I tried them all. It's supposed to be braided. I see them, I think, on
Fit.
Yeah.
But
they're a good deal.
The problem I found with every collapsible or flexible is the inner liner is just a plastic or a rubber membrane.
You know what I do is I've been buying the pocket hoses from Home Depot. Yeah. Because they have all different sizes. They have like 25, 50, 75, 100. You know what I mean? But they go bad. So after a year and a half, whatever.
I'll keep you posted on this for sure.
Clive says that I'm Lieutenant Uhura or Uhura. I can't pronounce her name.
Uhura. We'll just say
from
Uhura.
Star Trek.
Yeehaw.
It's from the original.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we all had fucking great weeks of busy weeks, but did you guys see that post of mine? I don't know if you've seen it. I know me and Chris were chatting about it. Did you see that system, that subcooling on that system?
No. I've been avoiding you guys all week.
I realized this week was your week, eh?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. No, but So let's talk about that subcooling thing. So at first, when Joe posted this picture, he was kind of curious about something. My first instinct was, here's a problem that I run into when I'm working on package units. Package units oftentimes, depending on manufacturers, will either only have a discharge. Well, they'll usually only have a discharge port. Yeah. So it's not liquid pressure, it's discharge pressure. And not with all, but with most package units, I see a pretty substantial pressure drop from the discharge line to the liquid line going across the condenser. And so when you only have a discharge line port and you're not thinking straight and you think you're looking at subcooling, you'll see 40 degrees subcooling and you're like, oh my gosh, something's wrong.
What's the right way to actually look at that then?
Liquid pressure.
Yeah.
So you need an actual liquid pressure tap, so that way you can get true subcooling with liquid pressure and liquid line temperature.
It's funny you say that, because this place had two Weather King, Carrier Weather Kings,
Weather Makers, whatever. Yeah.
And they have discharge port. So I thought when you mentioned that, I'm like, oh wait a second. Okay, wait, did I not switch it back or something? But then I realized now.
So on commercial, why did they? What is the benefit of not putting it on the liquid line? You know what I mean?
Well, okay. So let's put it this way. I prefer to have as much data as possible.
So multiple ports.
Yeah, if I can see discharge pressure, if I can see liquid pressure,
no, I get that.
Suction pressure,
but
then it just gives me more information.
I remember, I don't work on a ton of commercial stuff, but I remember the ones that I do. I think some of the older trains and stuff like that, they only have them. Maybe it was Ream. I don't remember.
Well, Train typically only had it on the discharge port too, but that's also why. Well, I don't think it's why, but that's one of the things that I would imagine would make it difficult, why manufacturers typically don't publish superheat and subcooling numbers. So when you call Train, they tell you what the pressures are. They don't tell you what the superheat is or the subcooling. Sometimes Train will, but I mean, most manufacturers just tell you pressures. So when you hook up Measure Quick and you're not thinking about it, it might get a little confusing, or someone would be like, oh my gosh, they might be chasing a ghost. Now, that's what I instantly thought of when I thought of Joe when he posted that, but that wasn't the situation. Joe just has a major issue.
Major issue, because everything else seemed about normal. Head pressure a little bit high. It was surrounded by bushes. I think this unit, they're gaining away with it, and it's an older unit too. It's still going strong because the load on this unit is not used that much. It's only for one room, a special room, you could say. Yeah. And but the line set's over 50. It's funny because I was looking at this whole big picture, if you want to say, and then I look up like, what? Wait a minute. And I show you a picture of it. This distance is so long, and I doubt it was engineered for this long run. It's over 50 feet. So who knows? It's a long run, overcompensated with refrigerant. Who knows? Whoever came to it last, but it's running. I left it for now. I made notes and see what happens.
So we've got people just coming in right now, and so Bill is missing tonight. He is at the Herpes Anonymous convention. So it is what it is. I don't think he wanted us to tell everybody, but we're those kind of friends. So
these people, they don't tell anyone else here,
No. So we're gonna roll this way. But for those that are just coming in, we already talked about it. Bill tried to one up us, and because Bill gets really sophisticated with his thumbnails. We kind of already said this, but Bill thinks he's Captain Jean-Luc Picard. If you look at this channel thumbnail, and then we're the three people underneath him, because the captain's missing from that picture. So Bill's kind of an asshole.
Clever guy.
He plays mind games with us. Mind games.
Yes. He is my fucking ass.
That he is. He's an asshole.
That he is.
But I had a decent week. We're kind of busy. Had some stuff going on. Had a interview this week. We're kind of still looking for technicians. So we've interviewed a few people, doing ride-alongs with a few different people. So that's going good so far. But I don't know. It's something that, as a contractor, I have to think about, and it's, with everything changing right now, prices of everything are going up. It's getting harder and harder to find technicians because of the skills gap. And then also because of this crap we're going through where, people are paying crazy money to get technicians right now and stuff. So it's rather difficult. So it's pretty crazy.
It's funny you say that, because actually there was a good post in the group, HVAC Overtime group, if nobody knows about that. And they were asking, what was it about? It was about a lead. If like there's a dead end, like he's just good for cleaning, or you think he's just good for cleaning checks. Like, what's your stance on it? What do you do? You know what I mean? Like,
I saw that one.
You seen that one, right?
And if somebody's not progressing past where you want them to. I mean, I think it is what I've done a lot of soul searching lately on a lot of different levels, right? I'm not going to get into it 100%, but like one of them was realizing that I've been disappointed with people that worked for me in the past. And I'm like, everyone sucks. And then I realized I fucking suck. I'm a shitty teacher. You know what I mean? And like, I started thinking, I'm like, I need to figure out how to become a better teacher and put tons of effort into training. And that's kind of my goal now. And that's what I've been doing.
It takes a lot for you to sit back and actually say that to yourself. You know what I mean?
Thanks, Joe. I feel like we're in an AA meeting or a Herpes Anonymous meeting, one of the two.
Right. We graduate from that one.
You know what? I mean,
Veltrex.
But, we really usually kind of bullshit, give a little bit of tech education here, and that's about it. But to pause for a minute and kind of be real, it's really hard for grown men to actually fucking talk about some of these things, and people have this stigma built, and I'm kind of taking off in a different direction than where you were going, Adam, but it's difficult sometimes for us to be vulnerable and talk about real shit. It's easy for us to talk with our buddies and be like, oh yeah, fuck, shit, piss, cock, fuck, link. I was going to go into a song right there, but I'm not going to. But
the Blink-182 song.
Yeah, I was about to start singing, but I'm not going to do that anymore.
That it kind of reminds me. I know Joe doesn't like to talk about this. We brought this up briefly earlier, but I'm going to bring this up now because it kind of ties in a little bit. All right, we had a discussion. One of the a bunch of times we were on with Clive, not on YouTube, just privately, and Clive is like, his mind sees things and he just notices patterns all the time, and like, he brings up a pattern and he's like, pay attention, you're going to see the pattern now. And it's like, holy crap, he's right. You know what I mean? And one of them is when guys in the trades especially reach the age around 40, a lot of guys get very depressed and they go through depression. You know what I mean? And I did. You know what I mean? I think COVID has a lot to do with it too, and it kind of snowballs the effect, but it sucks,
it does suck. I can vividly remember about 10 years ago, I went to see a therapist and all this shit, right? Medicine, happiness, bipolar disorder, all this crap. But the point I'm bringing up is when I was talking to my grandfather after I started seeing a therapist. I'd been seeing a therapist for like 8 months, and I was talking to my grandfather one day, and my grandfather's 89 or something at the time. And, just telling him, I'm feeling really good. I've been seeing a therapist. I realized I have some issues and stuff. And my grandfather had this most perplexed look on his face when I'm telling him this stuff. 100%. And he's like, and then I'm telling him, it's making me feel so much better because I'm realizing like I had some issues and stuff. And when I'm done talking, my grandpa goes, why would you ever go to a doctor and talk about that stuff?
Right.
And it's like,
that's the way I was raised, and that's one of the struggles that I have with my wife, because she was not raised like that. And my grandpa raised me. He was an officer in World War II. He was tough as nails. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was like, don't cry, you girl. That's like the way he would talk. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, sir, no crying, got it. So I don't know. It was always just like, suck it up and be a man.
In what I'm starting to notice generationally, we're not going to go into the crazy politics of this, but some will say that the generations after us are getting softer and softer and softer, and all that crap. But I feel like there needs to be some, we need to let some of our guard down. We need to let some of it out, because what people don't realize, at least this is the way I've reflected. I'm not a doctor. This is just the things that I realized, is that it compounded. If I had an issue with someone, if someone pissed me off at work during the day, I wouldn't say anything. I'd swallow it. I'd go home. I'd be fine. Then it happened the next day. A month later, I fucking snap. And I can think of some they'll make people laugh, but I can think of some really shitty situations. Like one time I came home and my dog had pulled my sprinkler system completely out of the ground that I just fucking planted.
The hell kind
so
of
I replanted it all.
Monster dog do you have that could do that?
It was a drip system, so it's all that flexible fucking stuff, and it would make the popping sound. And she pulled the whole thing out and left it on the grass, presented it to me. So I reburied it all, fucking fixed it all, and then a week later she did it again, and I fucking snapped, And I picked her up and I fucking yelled at her and I chucked her across the yard. And right as she went, and then hit the ground, my neighbor pops his head over the fence. And he's like, "Hey, Chris, how you doing?" And he fucking sees dog go, and he's like, "Oh." And it's these fucking, my dog was fine. I fucked up. I lost my temper, all that shit. But it was little things like that I started to realize, like, this keeps happening more and more. I threw a fit in a restaurant. I fucking threw a tool across the
100%. I agree with you 100%. I think when you have that mindset, like you're talking about, you know what I mean? Like where it's like where your grandpa said, why would you talk about that? When you're raised and somebody's telling you, suck it up, be a man, that's when it like stuff festers and you have anger issues, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So while and something at least, again, the way that I've reflected on my stuff, like I've been feeling really good lately. I've learned to communicate. I probably over communicate about shit that I probably shouldn't, but I'm an open book now. It's so easy just to fucking spill it out rather than keep it in. But the thing that I've realized for me the most is that no matter how good you think you are, it never goes away. It's always there. You just find better ways to cope with it. And they could be the wrong ways. Maybe you're taking drugs, maybe you're drinking, whatever. It could be a mixture of both that, so it never goes away though. And it's there for life and you have to learn how to cope with it. So there's times that I feel like I'm still getting angry and it's like, okay, but I'm good. I know what I need to do. I need to talk about it. And, and so I do. I communicate with my wife or friends or whatever.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm at the point right now where I'm struggling because I have never believed in therapy. I thought that was like for the weak-minded. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm like, you go to therapy, you're weak. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. That's just the way I thought because that's the way I was raised. And like, I'm trying to overcome that now because I want to be like, I'm trying to be a better person, like with training my guys and everything else. And I always had like a chip on my shoulder, like, you're an idiot. You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying to get past that. It's hard to do it by yourself. You need somebody on your side, I guess,
And Herman, just beside the topic where we're talking about, Herman from the group, awesome pulse. He just says something about teaching. Teaching is something you have to practice just like the trade pretty much. Some people have it naturally. I admit some people could have it naturally, but a lot of don't. And it's something you got to train. It's something you got to like teach yourself kind of thing. You know what I mean? And go ahead.
That's right. No, you finish.
I was just going to say that's one of the reasons he also posted that he went into teaching because he gave up on finding good employees. And nowadays it is hard to find them.
Step back a little bit too. Clive had brought up a point recently, and I kind of laughed at first, and then I've been thinking about it, and he said it a few times now. I think he even said it on his stream one time when someone mentioned something about me. Is that there's probably a little something about all of us that's slightly autistic in a way too. And not to downplay anything about people that have severe autism or whatever, but he makes a great point, Clive, when he says this, because there's something about the way that our brains work that we tend to, and Clive, I'm probably butchering this, Clive, but he said something like, we may call it OCD, but others think that you just are basically hyper focusing on something, and it's not so much OCD. It's just that you tend to have an interesting focus, and I probably butchered what he said, but
I know he did say that he's like, everyone's kind of like, especially technical people are usually somewhat on the spectrum somewhere of autism.
Did you guys know that freaking Elon Musk has Asperger's syndrome?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I mean,
I didn't know that either. It makes sense. It totally makes sense now. Which Asperger's syndrome is a type of autism, but it makes sense. But it's like, that makes sense why sometimes there's no filter, or it's just like, why would you say that?
He's a different person. Like he's not normal. You know what I mean? And like,
but define normal. I think it's so important that we realize that there is no normal.
That's true.
There's what people have brainwashed us to think is normal.
Right.
But
no, I hear you. He's completely different than he's unique, which is not bad. It's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember seeing an interview with Elon where somebody's like, how is it he's like, I think to myself, how would it be to be Elon Musk? And he's like, it sucks, really. He's like, I work like 90 hours a week. It's awful. I wouldn't recommend it. He's like, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. It's a bad thing. Don't do it. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I'll change the topic since that was a good chat, and we might come back to it.
I think we should.
Joe's over it. He didn't want to get on it. He's done with it. Let's move on.
I think that it's something that we have to discuss more. Now, we don't need to murder the subject. We don't need to talk about it every single day. But I think that we need to make people realize that it is normal to be angry, to have depression, and as silly as this is going to sound, some people might not know what it is. They might just think that they're something screwed up. And it's like, dude, that shit gets dark really fast, especially if you go down the dark side of depression. You do need to talk to someone, whether it be a friend, a family member. Definitely don't listen to us dumbasses on here.
Yeah, I feel like this is like a shitty version.
But it might help. This is
like a shitty commercial where it's like, if you're thinking about suicide, call this number, and it's like us telling you that if you're thinking about suicide, fucking turn our asses off right now, please.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Jason mentioned that as well. Jason Johnson, what's up? He said the same thing. I believe talking to somebody as well. Just talk to anybody. Or Dave Johnsonola. I think one of them said it. But yeah, just talk to somebody. It helps, man.
Yeah, it definitely does, and it's really easy to cope with things for so long. And this is something I was telling my wife recently too, is that it's really easy to cope with things for so long to the point that it's normal to you.
Yeah.
And I'll bring up a point. Someone said to me the other day, I was talking to my mom, and she's like, yeah, but you have so much going on. You're so busy all the time. And I go, nah, I'm not that busy. And she goes, but you are. You just don't see it. You're so used to it that you don't realize that you don't get a fucking second to think.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh yeah, it was kind of like, oh shit, you're right, mom. You know, like I really, I'm so used to my normal that it's normal to me, you know. I mean, and it's like, wait, my body's not made to do that.
You accomplish a lot. You're ambitious. You know what I mean? Like when I first met you, Chris, I was like, you didn't have all these 100,000 subscribers. You were like less than 20,000 when I first started watching you, and maybe I sent you an email or whatever. And like, you were like, I'm doing good, but I'm getting all these subscribers, this and that. And you like, I want to make videos. This guy puts in a lot of work, but it's worth it. I want to do that. And I made a couple of videos. I'm like, yeah, this fucking sucks. I'm done with this shit.
Well, people email me, be like, man, I'd really like to start making videos. What do you think? And it kind of makes me laugh. I haven't sent this yet, but it makes me laugh because, you know, when people used to ask me, hey man, I really want to do air conditioning. What do you think? Do you think I could do it? And the first thing I'll usually ask people when they say that is, do you have a family? And do you like spending time with your family? You know? And then it's like, that's the way I'll answer the air conditioning question. And then when it becomes to doing the YouTube stuff and a business, it's like, yeah, I just, you know, I make money from it. I'm not going to lie. Right. So that's cool. But that doesn't make you happy. You know, no. It's like you still just consumed with whatever you're doing.
You know, it's hard. And I want to segue, actually, you just remind me, but so I want to acknowledge.
He wants to make sure he's changing the fucking subject.
Actually, I was going to acknowledge Chris, an awesome job he's doing with the channel. And
you guys don't need to stroke my wiener over
here. No,
here.
honestly, in the videos, you're doing a great job. And yeah, but I was going to say,
Joe, since we're good friends then, right?
Always.
No, that was your yearly review right there.
So
we're going to transition to another topic.
But if we're good friends and shit, can I at least have your address yet?
Sure.
You fuck nut.
I was going to say, if you can't, when you do have those texts though, what do you do in that time? Because we still didn't answer that question. What do you do? What's two business owners right here?
Okay, so give me a preface again. So you're saying that when you have a tech that you know is never going to,
it's been about a year.
What he is.
Yeah, It's been a year, and he hasn't really grasped what you think he should be grasping. Maybe like Adam's mentioned in the past, he hates when somebody can't hold channel lock properly.
Again, in my opinion, is that we have to remember that we're small business owners. Okay, right. Myself and Adam, we're small business owners. We have small businesses, so we're always comparing our techs
to
someone they'll never be, and that's us.
And that's the thing, because like I was thinking, like, you know, I want to pay this guy this, and he needs to know all this, you know, whatever. But it's like, the people deserve to have a decent lifestyle and everything else, even if they don't know everything. Maybe they will never know service. Maybe they will never know install. Maybe they won't be good at whatever, you know what I mean? But like, I'm sure if somebody's relatively technical, they could find their niche. You know what I mean? There's something for them in HVAC.
In my time doing what I've been doing, in my time moving into an ownership role and doing that, I've probably had, off the top of my head, maybe 20 to 25 technicians, okay, including the ones I have now over the years, okay, all together. And every one of them is different. Every one of them has strengths and weaknesses. None of them, and it's nothing wrong with them, but none of them have the drive that I have.
No. Right.
And what's the difference? Well, I have an owner's mindset. And if they have an owner's mindset, more than likely they need to be starting their own business.
Right.
And there's no fault in that. Life happens. They got to do their own thing. So I'm constantly trying to clone and replicate myself. And even myself is not perfect, you know? So I think it's important that we understand something. And I've been reflecting on this a lot, that nobody is ever going to be us. We're always looking for that person, but they're never going to be 100% us. They're never going to make the decisions.
Back to teaching. Back to teaching for 1 second here.
Yeah.
You know, to get back to that original question, Joe, if somebody gets stuck and hung up as a maintenance tech or whatever else, and you can't get them past that point, maybe you need to look at yourself, and you need to actually say, maybe I'm doing something wrong, and maybe it's not
very
him.
important.
You know what I mean?
Well, I can tell you my faults. I know my faults, right? I have drive and I have expectations, and I put my customers 100% before my employees. And my customers are going to keep me going when my employees are gone, right? In hopes. I do not put my technician on a pedestal. I do not give them praises enough. I do not say attaboy, because I just frankly don't have the time. I'm consumed in what I'm doing. And it's really easy in my head for me to finish a job and tell the guys, you know, you did a good job, but here's what I would have changed.
That's what I would, I've always had that mindset where it's like, I would never compliment. I would always criticize. And if I don't criticize, that means I'm happy. Right. And that's an issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what? First of all, I want to say something that Michael House said. It's absolutely true. Some learn after 6 months, a year, 2 years. Attitude, what's really important. And it's true, 100%. Some are slow learners. But I have to admit, being an employee as well, gratitude or saying thank you, good job, goes a long way. You could have worked your ass off,
right?
100%.
And just him messaging you saying thank you.
I really appreciate it. Right?
Looks good.
So, what's a good way, Joe? I haven't been an employee for years now. So, what's a good way? Like, I've thought of all these different ideas to make employees happy and to retain employees and this and that. Is it like a yearly bonus, like when it comes to your anniversary date? Performance bonus, incentive pay, like what is it? Like, I know some people are not driven by money, they're driven by other things. Like, hey, one of the guys in 2.0, Tanner Dickinson, I remember he said, like, people aren't driven by money. Not everyone's driven by money. Maybe some people, it's super important for them to go to their kids' baseball games on Saturdays. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of them are, though. Come on.
Right.
Let's be real. But go
ahead. You know what? Like, I would wake up at Sunday at 8 o'clock at night and go do some crazy shit for a good amount of money. And I know tons of people that would be like, no, I'll see you tomorrow at 7 a.m. You know what I mean? So
true. But not in the beginning or in like later in their career, because in the beginning, dude, it's hard to get those young guys up unless they're eager to learn.
Right.
So that is a good question. Like, what is the incentive? Yeah, go ahead.
It's difficult. Things that we have done. Okay. And I'm going to answer myself in the end, but things that we have done is we give them retirement. Okay. We have a 401k plan. We give them health insurance, 100% paid for the employee. They just pay a copay is all they have to pay, or deductibles, that kind of shit. But we give them continuing education. So I tell my guys, in an interview right now, I just told them, if you want to go to school and you want to better yourself, that's only going to help me. So if you want to go get a degree, as long as you get, a B average and show me that you pay for it up front, you get a B average, I'll reimburse you for your schooling. Like, so long as you're not going to be a doctor or something like that. But so all these things that we've done, we try to pay well, all these things, you know, and stuff. But what I realize is some like it, some don't. I've had employees that had worked for us for 5 years and never once contributed to a 401k plan. That was a 5% match, free money.
Right.
But they didn't see that concept. I had one employee that was mad because towards the end he was having financial problems, and he had been contributing. No, he had been contributing to his 401k, and he realized how much money he had in there, and he was mad because he couldn't take it out, and he needed it, and he was pissed at us.
Yeah.
So, but the point I'm trying to make is every person is different. So it's really an individual thing. So I think, again, I still haven't perfected this. I try to give them attaboys. I make videos for them. I try to do all this stuff.
What kind of videos are we talking about now?
Special videos, you know? I give them the honor of holding my camera while I'm fucking working. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I know. I just
someone made a comment about that the other day. They're like, I wonder how his employees feel about holding his camera while he's working.
Yeah, actually, I noticed that someone is holding your camera.
It doesn't happen very often. I've only had few people do it.
Do you get real pissed off and slap and be like, hold it fucking level?
But genuinely, every employee is different, and I haven't found the magic recipe, but I know that just like with people as individuals, you know, everybody's going to have different needs. So money is a big thing, though. And I will say, even if the person is not concerned with money, like even if they want to spend more time at home and do different things, the moment they find out they're not making as much as the next guy, money becomes a problem. So from experience, I've realized you have to keep on top of that and make sure that they're compensated well. It's really easy for a small business owner. I don't know about you, Adam, but for me, I lost 3 employees at the same time, and I screwed up a lot. And one of the biggest things was I wasn't trying to be greedy. I just wasn't thinking about it.
Right.
It was a busy summer, and we weren't compensating people right. And we lost 3 guys at the same time, and it was our own fault.
I mean, if you look at it from their perspective too, you know what I mean? Like this new guy that started with me, all right? I asked him what he'd be comfortable with making. He's in HVAC school right now, and he told me a number, and I said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you $6 more an hour than that. This is a hard job, and I'm not a freaking slave labor, you know, a slave driver, whatever you want to call it. But people have to, like, they have families. They have to support their families, and you can't be like, you know, I look at some of these guys that we've had on here, you know, John Ellis, Brett Pretzel, you know, these guys.
Brett Wetzel.
That he freaking kills it. You know what I mean? Yeah. He makes good money, but like he doesn't make like, you know, like for his knowledge, I'd be like, dude, he should be living in the Taj Mahal over there. You know what I mean?
But the amount of time that Brett or Kevin Compass or majority of the supermarket guys out there put into their career, amount of blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah, they make a pretty decent living, but I'm sorry, it's probably not worth it.
Right. No, but my point is, if that freaking scientist of a crazy mind dude is if he's right here in his pay, and like you are trying to make somebody happy and bring them, like, I just have a hard time comprehending you belong here when Brett is right here. You know what I mean? Like, because there's a huge separation in knowledge and all that, but
is there though? Okay, I gotta admit there is in a way, but not Brett, but let's say me or someone else who knows, let's say hydronics or knows DP knows dehumidification, but like someone dehumidification is somebody who just works on heat pumps in a building, let's say, or someone who does both, a little bit of everything. Who's more valuable? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To me, it's the guy who knows a little bit of everything.
I don't know. I don't know if I buy the value thing, because there's always going to be a need for you. It may not be where you're working at the moment, but you still are of value to someone somewhere.
Yes. And it depends what situation you're
in. It's hard. I don't really think it's comparing apples to apples there. I feel like you're comparing apples to freaking watermelons. And
I just don't think somebody's here because they do something and somebody's here. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I believe everybody's fucking equal in a way in HVAC.
That's a very fucking Canadian way to look at it, bro.
I mean, dude, give me some healthcare while you're at it.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
no,
I actually, I was thinking you were saying the opposite thing, but I realize what you are saying now. And I get the concept. Yeah. So you're actually going more so with what I was saying is that, you know, everybody's unique in one way or the other, and they're needed by someone. So yeah, I guess I kind of get that, but I don't know if I do, because I do believe that, you know, this technician B busts his ass at the company that he works for. And if you take this great technician from another company and you put him in the same place, he's going to fucking stumble because he doesn't know the company he's working for. So they're not equal.
Is it a bad philosophy too, to try to, if you're trying to build an employee in your company, to try to bring him to a respectable wage, and, you know, so he could survive, and you're trying to invest in him so he could invest in the company, right? So like, is it better to have the employee grow into the wage, or the wage grow into the employee? You know what I'm saying? Like, think of it that way. Cause like, you could be chasing your employees out the door cause you're waiting for them to gain knowledge.
Right. And I did that. I had one of my better employees that I've ever had. I had stipulations in my head, and I finally told them to him. But by the time I told them like where I wanted him to be, it was already too late because he was already halfway out the door. But still, my expectations were set too high, you know, and I was ignoring the fact that he was great in all these different aspects, but I was just thinking of these three things at the top that I wanted. And I forgot that he worked his way all the way through all this stuff. And so I lost him, and I lost him for like $5 an hour. And we even said when he left, I was like, or, you know, we approached him. We're like, dude, what can we do? And he's like, it's already done, bro. Like, you can't. I'm done. Yeah. Like I've already gone. So he was basically saying, you can't offer me the money. That's
why it's probably like, which is weird. So I, like, off subject, I've been using for the past 9 years Intuit online payroll for everything, right? Paying taxes, doing the payroll service, everything. Well, I got notice that they were closing. They're done. You have to transfer over to QuickBooks. And I talked to my bookkeeper, and she's like, that's a nightmare. I don't want anything to do with that, blah, blah, blah. So then I found out House Call Pro integrates with Gusto or whatever. I don't know. And this thing is like a legit software. It has like an HR service built into it. It sends out monthly surveys to your employees and all that. And it's like, getting back to what you were talking about, Chris, like I know you said a while back that you let things fester, and it builds and builds and builds. And employees do that as well too. They don't talk about it. And you can't fix something that you don't know is a problem, and then their minds are set, you know?
Yeah, and I've realized that even, you know, I would tell my employees, you know, I'd say at least every 6 months, I would go to them and I would say, hey, I realize I'm not perfect. Like, I'm open to your criticism. I'm not going to get angry, or I'm not going to, you know, reprimand you for it. I may be upset, you know, like, hey, you know, that's kind of messed up, but I said I want to hear it. You know, and I would ask them like every 6 months, and they really wouldn't say anything. And, you know, then one of them would quit or something. And then I'd find out all these things. And it's like, how come you never said anything, bro? Like, this is the stuff I asked you about all this time.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. And actually, Mr. Green made a good point. Chick might see him acknowledging it, because it is true. What do you say? There's another topic. I have asked my employer a few times already, what can I do to move up in the company? They still haven't given anything on how, or even an evaluation, so I'm moving on.
Yeah,
it's a good point, but because a lot of people do want to, you know.
Yeah, and I've been asked this question by people, and the way that I've addressed it is, remember that okay, so this isn't fair, but this is just how it is. I'm a small business owner. I'm super overconsumed, and I don't even do everything because my dad works for the company too, right? And so, you know, he runs this portion and I run this portion, and I'm consumed with what I have to do, and he's consumed with what he has to do. So oftentimes we still tend to forget crap and overlook things. Right. So as employees, don't be a dick about it, but you need to talk to the management. Absolutely. Communication goes two ways. And, you know, okay, so let's go back to before I was an owner. you know, and let's go back to me asking my dad for a raise when I was just a typical employee.
Yeah.
The way, you know, I was never taught this, but the way that I would ask for a raise is I would sit down with my dad and I'd say, look, I've done this. I feel like I'm confident in this. Here's where I think I need to grow. But I want to ask you, what can I do for the company to make the company a better place? How can I make this better? Because I want to move up. I want to make more money. I want to do all this stuff. So what can I do?
That's like a good thing. But like me personally, all right, I'm the oldest, you know, out of my siblings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have like control issues where it's like I don't want to let go of the reins. It's hard for me to do so, and there's certain things I have trust issues on with training too. So right now I'm at a point. I have my one guy. He's brazing, right? Which I know everyone's gonna say that's not that big of a deal, but he's pretty new. He's pretty green. He's brazing. He's doing a good job at brazing too. I'm pretty proud of where he's at for brazing. But now we're getting to the point where I'm like, all right, let's purge. We're pressure testing. He's pressure testing. Also, I know everyone's going to say not a big deal, but we're also working on, you're pulling a vacuum with core tools and true blues in that. I am nervous about that shit because there is a lot of shit that can go wrong if you don't pay attention to what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm watching him like a hawk, but you got to put yourself out there to trust, you know?
The worst.
That's the difficult thing is putting that trust out there, because that trust, again, in my weird head, that's probably screwed up. I realize I got problems. The trust is my reputation. Mm-hmm. It's all this different stuff. And it's my time.
Huge. It is huge.
It's my time because, okay, I'm going to let the technician do this. It's going to take him an extra 10 minutes than it would have taken me. But that fucking 10 minutes, my head is going nuts. I'm like,
I hear you.
I, you know, like, what do I oh, hey, bud,
what do I do now?
I said, you know what? Hey, let me show you. Let me see the torches. And I have a better way
you end up doing it.
so then I finish it. And it's like, he would have gotten there, but I just can't get past in my head because he's not doing it the exact same way as me.
Right. Yeah. Or, you know, like I struggle too with, I run out of things to do and there's only a couple things left to do. And, you know, one of the other guys is doing them and I'm watching them. I'm like, dude, this is like watching paint fucking dry right now. I can't do this shit. Like, just give me the tools. I got to go home, you know?
Yeah.
There's two times that happened to me, Adam. The big step, I think the worst, because nitrogen, okay, all right, fine. What else? Brazing, okay, you're going to do a pressure test after. But the release happened twice, contaminated. Release of the service valves.
Yes, that's what I'm worried about. That's the biggest thing when you're breaking the vacuum and you have to introduce the Schraders and do this all. It's not that hard. It really isn't. But like, there's a big margin for error. You can't fuck it up if you don't pay attention to what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, it's. I think to step back on the original topic, everybody's unique and everybody's different, and we all have to learn to work with each other, and communication is key, like on both sides. It's two-way, and you, as an employee, we can communicate with the office and say, this is something as an employee that we need to understand. Though, just because we say something doesn't mean it's going to come to fucking fruition or whatever the word is, right? Just because we say, hey, you know what, I think I should be making more money, doesn't necessarily we're gonna make it. And I feel like if we get the communication level higher and we start communicating better and more, then people can start to realize that, like, hey, you know what, we're just talking. And I'm just saying, hey, you know what, I think I should make some more money. Here's what I think I can do. And I think it would be a fair thing if we did this often. If my boss said, you know what, I agree, you've done really well, but I feel like you need to reach these goals before I get you to there. And I feel like I should be able to walk away and say, okay, I have an idea what I need to do now. And instead of just saying, no, fuck you, I want my money, I'm out.
I think me and you, Chris, are at similar situations with our companies. I think we're at a point where we're pretty much maxed out. Like, yeah, maybe we might make a little bit more money next year. We might make a little bit less, but there's not going to be a drastic jump unless like the processes of the company change. You know
unless, what I mean? And my yes, I agree. My feeling is my weakness is that I'm not willing to let go of the reins.
And you have to if you want to continue to grow as a company and start making
we've had coin. There was a point when we had 7 employees, right? We're down to 3 right now. including myself. So I've got 2 people working for me. I'm looking for a 4th, but I've had 7 and it was a fucking nightmare because the callback rate was insane and it was all stupid stuff and it was acceptable. When you think about a callback rate per person, it was okay. But as a business owner per person, it was too many callbacks and I was fucking going nuts. And it's like when we downsized and let go of customers and all that stuff, it was so much less stress. And I realized, but also on the flip side, I don't want to be a dick, but I realized that these giant business owners, you know, they let go of the reins and they have people, they delegate, they do things, right? But I want to say something. There's all these new Instagram, Facebook business owners out there. We're not going to name names, but there's a shit ton of them that have these giant mega businesses that make everybody think it's the greatest thing in the world. I'm doing great. I'm killing it. I'm fucking acquisitioning companies and all this shit.
Is this the guy? Are you talking about the dude that you fight it with on Facebook?
No, but that was another person. That was another guy too. That was a whole fucking thing. That was with the air cleaners. You know, I feel like they're not being honest because when you have 75 trucks out there, 150 trucks across 6 states, whatever, you're not sharing the true amount of fucking stress. And that's all I think about when those guys show those posts and those things and I sit there and think, dude, they must be wanting to fucking kill themselves.
Although they once you get to a certain level, your stress probably drastically drops off because you are at the point where you're delegating almost 100% of everything. So those people that you delegate to are now enduring the stress that you would be, right?
And maybe I'm not seeing the big picture here, but I call bullshit because they don't even know what the fuck is going on in their company. If they're that successful, in my head, this is the way my head works. If they're that successful and they make that much money and they have that many employees, there's absolutely no way that their company is not a shit fest. Now,
it's true.
But what's not fair about what I'm saying is that I'm comparing that to my business style, and maybe their business style is different. Maybe they are successful, you know, but it's hard for me as a small business owner to get past the acceptable. I mean, one callback is not acceptable to me.
Right. And you like build your company on quality and you're nervous. You don't want to let the quality slip, which quality will, like, I'll tell you, the biggest residential heating and air company in Chicago is probably Four Seasons. Right.
Yeah.
And I see some jobs that they do, and they do some jobs that are pretty okay. You know, I wouldn't complain. They're all right. Halfway respectable. And other jobs, you're like, you're going to kill somebody, you dumb ass. You know what I mean? Like, you should not be doing this. Get another job at Walmart, please.
You know what? It's funny you say that because that's another reason why it's hard to train somebody. Because I think Michael said it. Michael House said it in the chat too. And I've learned from my mistakes a lot. I think a lot of us learn from our mistakes. And thank God the guy who was teaching me at the time, mentors, didn't bite my head off at the time. They got pissed probably sometimes, but you know, they didn't kill me for it. But that's how you learn. And then too bad, you know, if you do that mistake and nobody oversees that something because you told the boss that it was a good job, then like you say, you're going to get jobs like you see, Adam, shitty jobs.
And you see Dave G in the chat says it's all a bunch, and he's talking about the big companies on Facebook and shit. It's all a bunch of silent investors that feed that money and don't care about the people. It's all about the income. And Dave is another business owner. Adam and I know him, and he's a cool dude. And he deals with a lot of the same stuff that I deal with, you know, and that's true. But my question is, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I need to be more concerned about the money and not so obsessed, because my business will never grow any more than I want to. Like, I know what I want. I want my business to be mine. It's my reputation. It's an extension of me, you know. But these other guys, I mean, maybe
there's going to be a point where there's going to be a point where you are your dad and you're not able to climb on the roofs anymore. And
that's going to come sooner than later.
Right.
You know, my dad can't, you know, he comes out, but I mean, he can't do as much. So,
Speaking
you know,
of Woofler.
Yeah.
Damn, what a good sorry.
Clive.
Good timing.
I just thought there was a shortage of beards. I thought, you know, we had to bring one back into
Thank God.
Gotcha.
Fuck, I was feeling shitty, man.
Well,
what have you done to Bill? Have you killed him?
No, he's at the herpes convention, dude.
All right, okay.
Well, it's the Herpes Anonymous convention is what it is. Yeah. So I guess we weren't supposed to talk about that, but.
All right, okay.
No, Bill, in all seriousness, Bill took a weekend off and went out with his family. So went out.
Oh, right, okay.
So, yeah.
He chose his family over us.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Different type of family, just a less gratifying and technical.
Yeah.
It's great that you came on, Clive, because good time, because we were just talking about how you realize that. So I'm going to come back to it.
Wait. You're going to go back now. You changed the subject, and then now you're going to go back to what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I want to check a definition, though. Someone was saying they had a shy employee. By shy, did they mean a lazy one not wanting to take responsibility?
No,
or
my
did they
definition...
just mean...
Sorry, go ahead.
Did they just mean someone who needs pushed a little bit? Because it's usually the shy ones that turn out to be the most technical. You know, that they're just, they've not got confidence. Like,
Could happen.
Maybe they know too much. Maybe they're looking too deeply. Sometimes you need to train them instead of actually seeing the big picture. Concentrate on one small bit at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you might find that shy person turns out to be one of your best techs. It's an unknown variable, though.
And
that's fair.
And I commented on, I think, on the post that you're talking about, because, I think everybody was talking about in regards to residential. But absolutely, if you're shy and you're not looking the guy in the face, residential to a business owner, you do look kind of like an idiot. Not an idiot, but you look unconfident. So it's not personable for a shy guy, let's say residential. But dude, I've seen so many.
Well, here's the thing. Hold on. What you're talking about right now, that gets back to what we were talking about, like being raised by Chris's grandpa or whatever, my grandpa, and it's a stigma. And like having a stigma like that, that's one of the things I'm working on myself. Like stigmas don't get you far. You know what I mean? Like you end up judging somebody for what they're not, and you make an ass out of yourself. And
but let's be real here, Adam. I've been in the past when I was younger going on with somebody that's a little in the residential side, and he's talking to homeowners, and I could tell the way his demeanor is, not looking at the homeowner, and just like kind of like, okay, they could be a good tech possibly, but it's not personable. Good luck again.
Well, then maybe he should be in commercial. Maybe there's another
That's what
aspect,
I mean.
You know what
and
I mean?
there's a spot for him, but
I
maybe
think
not.
that there's a spot. So people will email me often and they'll say, I'm 56 years old. I just made a career change. I'm going to HVAC technical school. Do you think I'm going to do okay? And my instant reaction in my head is, working for me, no. Okay, because I'm assuming that you're a typical 56-year-old. You're probably a bit overweight. It's just not going to work. It's going to take forever. My assumption might be wrong. Okay, because I'm stereotyping them. But Clive distracted me. So
I'm 56. No, it's okay, but you carry on. I am slightly overweight. You're right, and I've got a bad attitude. It's fine.
Burn.
Oh my god! but the point I'm trying to make is there is a place, and so again, with my generalizing mindset, I'll email them back and I'll say, yeah, but you have to be honest with yourself. If you're the stereotypical 56-year-old, you're probably these things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you just need to understand that you're probably not going to work in restaurant refrigeration like I do, but go get an institutional job. Go work for a school. Go work for a hospital. They're looking for people right now, and they just need a technical mindset. Someone that wants to just, you go work in a hospital as an engineer, and depending on the hospital or whatever, you might be just doing PMs. You might literally go around that hospital cleaning strainers out of fucking water-cooled water lines. That might be your job all day long. And so there's a place for everybody.
So you're saying Clive should be cleaning strainers the rest of his life?
Yeah.
Put him out the pasture?
I thought we were going to say like diagnosing faults in the primary feedback circuits of X-ray machines, but no, it's cleaning strainers. Do you want me to empty the diapers at the same time? Should I be doing that? Maybe the purge unit.
When I did do work for a hospital, I was an outside contractor that came in, and it was always the running joke that they had these union, very well paid, they called them engineers, that literally, because they wore a hospital uniform, the hospital would bring an outside contractor in because they had so much work that they would put the engineers that were trained to be working on chillers and boilers and all that stuff, and the engineers would be changing batteries and remotes and hanging TVs on the wall because they're clean cut and they work for the hospital, and they'd rather hire the riffraff like me that might have a technical mind to fix the shit behind the scenes that was technical, that required. So, you know, they all have different reasons why they do things. And I always thought that was funny though, because like those guys were getting paid crazy money, more than I was charging, and they're changing batteries and remotes all day long, you know, plunging toilets because it's in the guest freaking or the patient's room, you know. So
I remember, what were those things called on top of the toilets? I used to do that when I was doing maintenance or facility maintenance.
Upper decker?
Cisterns.
Not cisterns.
Upper
decker when you take a shit in the fucking water.
No, flushometer? No, is it?
No, that's from Miss McGoober, right? McGoober was the upper decker.
I don't know.
That's where that came from. Was a freaking show called McGoober, and he was kind of like MacGyver, but he was a dummy.
Oh.
And
Is it flushometer those American things that you push the button or pull the lever and it puts out a portion of water? It's not
right,
like
and you can regulate it. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, anyways.
Flushometer.
But carry on, Chris. I just butted right
I've never
into
heard
the
flushometer. I've never heard that. That sounds like something you hear on an infomercial to make your toilet flush.
I mean,
better.
I've seen, the only thing I've seen is like toilets that have 2 buttons on it, one for number 1 and one for number 2.
Those are great.
Are they though?
Those are weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like going, you know, the best toilets you can go take a deuce, drop a deuce at is Home Depot, right?
Home Depot. That's exactly what it is.
You go in there, you flush the toilet, you give a courtesy flush, and you got to look down and make sure your balls are still there. Yeah.
Well, yes, Chipmunk and Josiah. Yes, you're right.
But genuinely, so you know, you leave early in the morning, right? You leave at 5 in the morning. You know, you get on the road and you get halfway to your job by 6:30, and then it hits, and you're like, I gotta take shit, you know? So it's like, do I want to try to stop at Starbucks and have the one door stall bathroom where someone's freaking homeless person's banging on the door the whole time? Home Depot, dude, like for real, or Lowe's, either one, always there. They're open at 6 a.m. and it's freaking somewhat clean, you know?
Remember when you stop for a shit at Starbucks, you have to buy a coffee afterwards to justify the fact that you went into their toilet.
Absolutely.
Yep. Because you walk past everybody. Yeah.
Or you do a quick jog out. Oh yeah. Also, yeah. I forgot my wallet. Yeah.
They're like, "Hey Joe." They know your name, but not because you buy coffee, because that's on your route to work every
They're
day.
Stinky Joe. Oh hi.
Oh man.
Oh hi everyone. I'd better empty my bladder before I buy a latte.
Right.
Oh man. So we started off, you know, talking a little bit about mental health and depression and stuff. And Clive, you know, you kind of were talking about that to us recently, and it's something that I've talked about on my show a little bit too. And it's I kind of wanted to get your perspective on it too, but I feel like you know what my experience of it is for me, my biggest problem was bottling things up and not telling people about it and just letting it fester. But I think it's different with everybody, you know, what they go through.
It is, but a lot of people do just bottle it up, particularly men. They're not very chatty about it, and I suppose they should be. But having said that, many of them feel that talking about it isn't enough because it's not going to actually resolve the problem as such.
And I think that's a fair assessment because, you know, a weakness is of mine at least, and I would assume it's other men too, is that when I start a project, I finish it. When I have a task at hand, I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to get it done well. And if I don't understand that task, you know, because I feel silly in my head or something like that, you know, it might be hard for me to try to fix it. So I just avoid it and bottle it up, and boom, you know, for me, that was stupid things that I would do, you know, throwing things or whatever.
Yep. Just
because it was angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I do have to agree. Yes, we wish we had video of the dog being thrown. Not that I'm against dogs, but it would have just been one of those things that appears on YouTube in like
that would
one of those compilations.
It's one of those things that I'll never forget, and it was that instantaneous when my neighbor, his name was Paul, when he popped his head up, "Hey Chris, what's up?" And you hear, "Oh," you know, and dog going across the yard, and he's just kind of that uncomfortable. Okay,
you're supposed to go, "Oh no, puppy, what happened?" And then rush over.
Yeah.
Pick it up and snuggle it. Oh, I don't know what happened there.
That dumb dog.
I picture the situation like
the neighbor says, "You kicked it."
Right.
Oh man.
I feel like it's like Ned Flanders popping his head over the
I was just going to say
Oakley
that. Is your neighbor like not
Oakley
or Tim
neighbor.
Tim the Two Man Taylor? That
yeah, I forget his name.
Wilson.
Wilson.
Yes.
Hey, Chris. Yeah. Anyways.
Pretty much. But yeah, I think that we definitely need to talk about things more, and we need to realize that, you know, everybody's different, and, you know, but I think it needs to be something that we're not ashamed of anymore. Talking about mental shit.
I mean, I'll tell you, like when I'm like within the last 2 years, I've noticed myself growing up more. You know what I mean? Like I've been an adult and I've been taking care of my responsibilities, but like mentally growing up, like closer to 40. You know. I
think that's a natural progression too, that you're always, if you're a person that learns from your mistakes, I mean, to accept the fact and own the fact that you're going to make mistakes for the rest of your life. But the best thing you could do is try to not repeat those as much. Because nobody's ever going to be perfect, you know, especially with, you know, again, kind of like the whole business owner, we try to assume our employees are going to be us. They're never going to be us. And we're comparing them to something that they'll never be, because everybody's individual. So, you know, and we just definitely need to talk about it more. I know it sounds silly, and I know we usually don't talk about that crap on the show, but I think it's something important.
I mean, Clive brought it up to us initially, and I was like intrigued by it. And Clive, you have like you said, like a lot of people that have like extreme mechanical aptitude. There's like a hint of autism, and I think you have that in a way too. You notice like patterns and numbers, and you just see things that I think a lot of other people don't see.
Well, the thing is, a distinct percentage of humans it's almost like, this is the whole beehive thing. I think I've mentioned in the past, how there's more than one type of bee. And, you know, there's the queen bee, obviously. There's the ones that tend to be, there's the ones that tend to sort of like the colony. But there's also the security bees at the front of the hive.
Those guys are the assholes, by the way, that come and sting for no fucking reason. Yeah.
And the ones that actually go and get all the honey, which are just the workers, the ones that do all that. And they're expected, once they're beyond their working life, they pretty much lie down and die. They're not expected to come back and be a burden in the hive, so it's odd. I get the feeling that, you know, when you consider it, humans are animals. You know, we're just another species of animal. And I think that the reason for our success is because a percentage of humans are optimized for technical stuff. Like we're designed to design, build, and maintain society. And for that reason, our heads are just full of numbers and patterns, things like that. Terrible at socializing, terrible at making the eye contact you were talking about the customers, because our job is literally just to work. We are the sort of the hive maintainers, so to speak, and we're just optimized for that. I think that's what autism is. I don't think it's a brain defect. I just think it's a different type of human.
I'm going to kind of put a thought in my head, and everybody needs to smoke a joint to listen to this one. But I mean, we're never in, you know, things that I reflect on recently, and you think about this, is, were we ever meant to live this long? And if our chemical makeup of our body was not meant to live this long, think about before we had modern medicines and different things like that. The average age was half of what we live to these days. So, you know, we keep preserving ourselves and making ourselves live longer and longer. Is it possible that our bodies are only meant to live to a certain age, and so the chemical balance starts to change from the normal time, you know, the normal part of our body, and as we get older, our body just can't correct the chemical balance, so therefore we're changing more and more, we're degrading, we're doing whatever.
Well, the company I served my apprenticeship with, they had a sort of like it was a really old company. It went back to 1911, but they kind of had a sort of unwritten rule that when you got to the age of 35, they just gently let you go, because at that point you were starting to question things, and you were getting a wee bit, you were past the dumb worker, you know, when you're young and dumb, and you just do what you're told. You're obedient, and you just like work, and you just obey.
You essentially stopped being efficient, because whether you're questioning or whatever, you're not efficient. You don't fit that perfect profile anymore.
And it does make me wonder if this tendency, I mean, there's that horrific statistic. It's ridiculous. It's like 1 every hour at the moment in the UK commit suicide between the age of 40 and 45. And it makes me wonder, is there something built in? Is there an expiry date that, you were no longer productive beyond that point? And that's the point you were supposed to basically self-terminate, except, of course, that would have applied in the old days when it was just all brick-on-brick stuff. But nowadays with technology, like you were saying, take the easy jobs in the hospital, that doesn't apply anymore, because nowadays you could be a troubleshooter, you could be a teacher. So that expiry date, I wonder if it is something like a built-in expiry date.
Yeah.
Did you guys, when you were young, when I was young, without any cueing to this, I thought I was going to be dead before the year 2000. I was convinced that I was not going to last beyond the age of 35.
I never thought like that. Never thought like that. The only thing I had was when I was I think of the times that I think of is when I was a teenager, right? So from like 16 on, right? 16 till 20 years old. So at 16, in my head, the only vision, I didn't see a future. I didn't see anything. I saw myself snowboarding. That's it. Because I like to snowboard, and I figured I would snowboard for the rest of my life. And it's still funny to think back. Like I'm going to be snowboarding, that's all I saw. I didn't see any further.
I did, Clive. Like I remember thinking, like, I remember having this thought and the conversation, like, I'm not going to live past like whatever, 45, 35, whatever I don't remember the age that it was. I'm like, I'm rolling through this life hard, and I'm not expecting to come out and be 80 years old. That's what I thought. You know what I mean? It was in my head. So.
What about you, Joe? Did you have an expiry date?
I don't think I did think that. I don't know if it's my my horoscope. I don't believe that stuff, kind of. But I think I tend to think about others before myself for some reason. So I wasn't thinking about myself dissolving. Let's say I was more worried about other people. Like, oh man, they're gonna die.
Well, wait. I'm gonna ask. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question, Joe. Do you feel like, when it comes to family obligations, when it comes to someone needing help, I'm talking mom, dad, brother, sister, someone immediate, are you the person that bends over backwards no matter what to help that person?
Absolutely.
Okay. And have you always been that way? And do you find yourself getting frustrated?
That's a good question, because when I think back in my early 20s, let's say, I had that in me, possibly, for sure, but wasn't mature enough to maybe deal with it.
So I can remember being a kid and being that person. I can remember family members saying, Christopher's so nice. Christopher does this. Christopher does that. As an adult looking back, knowing that I've gone through crap, I was addicted to that dopamine release whenever I would hear them show me appreciation.
Me too.
And so I would bend over backwards until I finally realized in my mid-20s, I said, wait a minute, I'm killing myself for everybody. And the pendulum swung the other way, and I stopped.
Exactly. Yep, me too. And I resented people. And I'm like, don't call me. Like, don't call me anymore. I don't want.
No, same thing. Same exact thing. There was a matter of resentment, a type of resentment for everybody. And it might not have been fair. And I feel like that has to do with the whole bottling up, because I didn't tell people, hey, I don't want to do this, or hey, I don't have time. I just sucked it up, swallowed my true thoughts, and said, I'll just go help them. And I became the nice person.
That not because they were using you, and they were basically saying, oh, Chris can do that for you. He does like refrigeration stuff. He'll do it. Yeah. And they say, oh, could you come and do it? It'd be wonderful. And you're thinking, oh, okay. But then later on you realize, oh, they don't really mean that. They're just using me as a free laborer, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a way there had to be some of that, because I was that person for everybody. But now it's, again, pendulum's still kind of working its way back to the middle. Now when, let's say, for instance, we're going to get rid of our couch, my instant thought is we're going to throw that thing away. And my wife will say, well, why don't we give it to someone? No, because they're going to want me to use my truck to deliver it. Fuck that.
That's the same, like,
so I'll throw it away. Yeah. I don't want to fucking take it to someone's house.
Oh my God.
Having a truck, it's like when you have to be firm, because if you have a truck or a van, everybody wants to use it, and you just have to say, oh no, it's full of stuff, there's no room in it, I can't tidy it out, and so on. As a funny joke, I have a 2014 Silverado. That's my personal truck, and it only has 50,000 miles on it, because I don't ever use it.
The pendulum was already swung the other way when I got that truck because it's fucking my truck, and I love the fact that it has really low miles and it's 7 years old. So
it's probably rusted out right enough.
Actually, it's not rusted out, but it's a Chevy, so you are correct in the fact that the fucking paint is peeling off the top. Fucking Chevy and their white paint problem where it's flaking off of my freaking truck. There's nothing wrong with it
for anything, even Vans. It's horrible.
Fucking I think Chevy has a problem, and it's the paint is literally you could blow on it and it blows off the primer. I remember one time I took it in because I already got them to warranty it when it was still under warranty, and they're like, yeah, rock hit it. I go, bullshit. I said a rock hitting the paint does not cause the paint to peel off the fucking primer. It was never bonded right, dumbasses.
What are the chances? We're over our time a little bit here. We got a lot of, Clive's people in here too. It's pretty jamming. People hung around with this topic. It's not the easiest.
You want me to give something away or what?
I want to give away something. I was even thinking a simple woofle. What are the chances we could have a woofle presence on overtime? Is that possible?
Will I go and get the woofler?
Oh, that might be sacrilege.
You shall.
I could. I'm surprised you've not made your own, but you guys just don't have 3D printers, do you?
No.
One moment, I'll go and get the woofler.
Every half hour on Clive's show, he does a woofler, and it's just so.
And then
satisfying.
he has once every hour Jaeger Munion.
Right, Jaeger Munion. That's right.
So
Adam, you don't have like a random comment picker set up on the channel, huh?
You see, I'm not wearing an undershirt with this. I feel like it's like I'm almost wearing a V-neck. Look how white I am. I'm like super. I'm white.
Rich knows those woofles. Rich is.
I just assumed everybody has a woofler. It's just the greatest party trick
So
ever.
why don't you explain to people? So you made that that little template on top of the bottle with a few.
This is a 3D printed object.
Right.
What is the bottle? What's in the bottle?
The bottle is standard butane lighter fuel for lighters.
Okay.
Yes.
The gas. And what you do is this thing has, it's designed to fit onto that quite tightly. You hold the can like this, you grip the thing like this, and you pull down. And this is just dishwashing detergent and water. So it foams up, right? But it's full of butane. And then you light it. And it creates lovely fireballs.
That's cool. I need to start doing that in my house.
He doesn't give a shit, right? In his house.
And you can't just stop at one woofalo.
No, you gotta
No,
get
you
two.
can't.
No.
It's like this close to his face.
Keep squeezing it. Keep squeezing it.
That was an extra overtime one for the overtime. That's funny. Thanks.
There is
Brian.
another
That's
one,
awesome.
but it requires summertime. It's the whoosher.
Oh yes,
Hold
the
on.
booster. Yeah,
Let me get the whoosher out. The whoosher has a candle in the front of it.
that's awesome. Another satisfying thing.
And it's basically it's a 3D printed frame for an air freshener that when you squeeze it, it basically shoots little.
That's cool.
It does burst into flames, but that's my technicality.
I want to get a 3D printer so bad. I don't know why.
Worth it. Just
I wouldn't know how to
I know.
work it though.
I know.
You guys are like, you guys might find it quite easy to do this because this is all what they call script. It's just basically all you do is put in sizes and they're
Okay,
positioned
so
in 3D.
that's my fear is that I couldn't write the code. That's my fear. So you're saying to just find a code then that's already written so that way you could put it in.
Oh, you can. Well, this script is available online on my Big Clive Live channel. You can download it. At the top, it says, "Do not build one of these as a liability disclaimer."
But here's the formula to do so, just in case.
Mark Miller says, "Clive, I'm surprised you still have your beard." I know, me too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that.
Come close.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of times close. Somebody in chat was talking about head loss through a boiler. They were asking that question.
Oh yeah,
and I was telling
trimming.
Adam, I was telling him actually in chat, Adam, that really nowadays through those boilers there really isn't any head loss.
Well, the condensing ones,
No.
I think there is, Joe.
Like how much? How much head loss?
I think that's the whole point of having primary, secondary piping, right? You have one pump just to make it through the boiler because you're not able to move the full volume of the system.
Right. You want that mix up. But how much, let's say, I don't know, how much do you think a boiler, I don't know, let's give an example here. 200,000 BTU boiler. How much, let's say,
what do I look like to you? An encyclopedia Britannica?
Okay, let's change it. For, let's say, linear feet of pipe.
Oh, I don't know.
It's not much. When you're not, let's say, not going vertical. I'm saying, let's say,
you know who we should ask if he's still in here is Rich. He would know. He's like the doctor.
Rich, how much head loss are you gonna get from pipe? A linear feet of pipe, it's any size, up to 2 inch. Not much. Straight, not vertical.
Where'd Chris go? Oh, there he is.
It's in decimals, I believe. There's just charts out there. But anyways,
what did I miss?
Michael Hausch says it's a lot.
Oh, it's a lot.
That's what he said. That's kind of what I thought too. That's what the point of
how
primary
much is a lot,
piping. You're just trying to move the water from the boiler, into the boiler, through the boiler, and back out through your closed tees or
gotcha,
whatever.
I thought you got like a what's it called? A chamber there. There's not much. You're not gonna get much fluid, like head loss. Like I don't know. I was just thinking.
I think like you're, you don't have as much if you have an old school cast iron boiler. At that point, it's just like a big open sea of emptiness, right? So
true. You're right. I guess
that's
these
fandangled boiler things you're talking about. I'm bored.
Talking about some head loss.
Yeah, speaking of being bored, do you notice one of the last episodes where Bill was bored? When he gets bored, man, he just falls off a cliff.
What do you mean?
That was it. His eyes glazed over and he didn't say a word the rest of the show.
What you guys didn't know, what the show doesn't know is that we'll spend like sometimes, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes after the show kind of talking bullshit. And sometimes I don't do it as much. Last week we're talking and Clive's in there. And then all of a sudden we kind of all look over and fucking Bill, he's sleeping.
Yeah,
he's sitting there and the fucker fell asleep. Like he literally fell asleep while we're all just talking. We're soothing him to sleep, and we were putting subliminal thoughts into his head.
That is the point. We were putting subliminal thoughts into his head. Yeah. So let's not discuss the subliminal thoughts we put in his head, because it's like those learn while you sleep. So we were teaching him.
Well, I did say that Bill's at the Herpes Anonymous convention. It might have something to do with that, but
Yeah. So Bill is this big guy. He's the same height as me. I'm guessing same sort of weight as me, roughly. He's probably the same trait as me. See, when I get bored and stuff like that, or like when I stop working and sit down. Have you guys ever done this? You've gone for a training seminar and you go into this warm room and you sit down and you just conk out straight away. It's because it's almost you go into standby mode. As soon as you stop working, you go to sleep. It's just strange. It happens.
Yeah. When I am interested, I get hyper focused. But when I lose the slightest bit of interest, I'm fucking done. I'm done. I've checked out, and I'm nodding off. That's why I had such a hard time in normal education school. It's interesting because now I'm obsessed with the things. Maybe it was just a different time in my life, but history and science, especially history and political and economic stuff, like I watch YouTube videos all day long on that stuff.
I watch economics, but you know what I like about history? I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. Have you ever seen, is it on A&E or something like that, or E? Drunken History?
Yes, that is, it's the true stories, but it's the stuff that happened in the background. And you're like,
but it's like they get celebrities to get fucking hammered, wasted, and tell the story of like a history, like a story in history. And these guys are like falling off the chair drunk, telling the story. It's hilarious.
Clive, I don't know if you heard this. Sorry, guys, but Graham Rule is saying I've heard that the UK will ban gas boilers in a few years.
I mean, it's possible.
They're not banning the gas boilers, but what they're looking at doing is switching. They're trying to go mainly to electric in the future, but at the moment they're considering switching to hydrogen. But it's going to involve lining all the pipes, but they're going to have to initially, to avoid a sudden transition, they're considering using a mixture of natural gas and hydrogen at the same time so that, standard systems and ignition and detection systems can still work. I'm not really sure it's going to happen. You just never know. You can be sure that whoever's making the decisions is probably financially vested in it, and that's why they're making those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's a lot of switching over as far as automobiles and everything else to electric right now, and Tesla had a big hand in that.
You see that new Ford truck?
I don't understand enough about it to comment either way, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't understand either. But Ford just released their new truck that's coming out. It's somewhat affordable for the base of the base models.
It looks cool, but excuse me.
Yeah.
I love those super high power charging stations that Tesla's bringing out, like the 0.5 megawatt ones and 1 megawatt ones for the trucks. I just can't wait to see the YouTube clips of people ramming them and then the explosions and the flames and sparks. Or it's inevitable. People are going to try and fix their DIY charger leads and plug it in, and they're going to get fried on camera. I'm just waiting for these happening.
You think about the amount of current that it would take to charge a car in that period of time. I mean, it's kind of scary, right? The amount of energy.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And it'll be interesting, like Clive said, to see
Yamo. Keep it up.
The people do the craziness.
Yamo, is that Yamo messaging?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I just got a message too.
Okay.
Yep, it's all of us. Well, guys, I think that it's about time we wrap this up. This is a great discussion, but I think we're going a little long. So I think it's time that we wrap it.
It was a good little heart-to-heart we had here today.
I want to give out Bill's address so you guys can all send him get well cards, but
I mean, I'd like to give out Joe's address. I think that would be
stepping a little too far, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah. But you guys, you need to definitely send emails to curioushvacguy@gmail.com. And they need to be emails that inspire him and make him question his sexuality. So do me a favor, guys, and send the emails to curioushvacguy@gmail.com.
Lots of pineapples.
Lots of pineapples.
Bird.
Yeah, that's it. Clive, thank you so much for coming on here as usual. You're welcome. The gap. Thanks, I really appreciate it. And let's wrap it.
Wrap it.